getaway, getaway now. Getaway, getaway, getaway now. Take a plane, take a train, take a car. Just getaway, getaway, getaway now. Need to be far, just getaway, getaway, getaway now.
Hi, and welcome to Getaway Girl. I am Regina Ayars, and I am the Getaway Girl. Although I'm certainly not a girl anymore, when I travel, I do take on a different persona. Lighter, freer, more willing to be spontaneous, and able to just go with the flow. I plan, but when the plan has to change, I can do it with less heartburn and a sense that it's all going to work out. So during the next 30 minutes, come with me and see how traveling can open up new vistas for you. This episode of Getaway Girl is a two-part show. We're traveling to Alaska's Kachemak Bay. In July of 2018, I took a Sierra Club trip with 12 other women to kayak the waters and hike the mountains around Homer, Alaska. I had never been to Alaska, so that was one reason I wanted to go, and the other being that I love kayaking. Here in the Rogue Valley, our kayaking is on rivers and lakes, but this was sea kayaking, a little more challenging. We kayaked in Kachemak Bay off of the Cook Inlet, which is off the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific Ocean. Now, Alaska is the biggest state in the Union with 238 square miles. It is also the sparsest state, ranked 50th with only 1.26 persons per square mile. Its total population is only 438 people, and that was in 2018. Now, Anchorage has half of that population. And Alaska is a peninsula, really, surrounded by oceans and seas, and borders our neighbor, Canada. Now, of course, you can see Russia. Just ask Sarah Palin. Now, the United States purchased Alaska from the Russian Empire on March 30th, 1867. For $7.2 million US. That's approximately 2 cents per acre. Unbelievable. The area went through several administrative changes before becoming organized as a territory in May 1912. It was admitted as the 49th state in the Union on January 3rd, 1959. Now, there are 8 regions in Alaska. I was in the South Central region, which includes Anchorage, the largest city, 2 huge national parks, glaciers, and scores of lakes. There are few roads in Alaska, so most travel is done by train, boat, or plane. You can get your pilot's license at 14 and a half, and 1 out of 5 of the people living in Alaska has a pilot's license. There is a saying that the only way to get to Alaska is by plane, train, boat, or birth canal. So you have to be born there sometimes in order to get there. So let's start at the beginning. I flew into the Anchorage airport, which largest city, largest airport, and met up with my Sierra Club traveling companions. We were traveling in a 12-person van driven by one of our 2 guides, Christy. We were a diverse group: upstate New York, Detroit, South Carolina, Massachusetts, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, and Oregon was well represented. The route from Anchorage to Homer, our base, is a windy road crossing the Kenai Peninsula. Once we are out of Anchorage and on the famous Stewart Highway, there are no freeways, just 4- and 2-lane roads. After we turned onto the Sterling Highway, we stopped for lunch at Cooper Landing, which has a beautiful, placid lake. This was the first of many delicious homemade meals cooked from scratch. Yummy, organic, healthy food cooked by our other guide, Jennifer. We only went out to dinner once on this trip, so we had some wonderful food. Now, another stop along the way was a historic Russian Orthodox church in Nenilchik. I think I got that pronounced right, Nenilchik. And the community is designated as an Alaskan Native village. Russians settled here in 1847, and this church was built in 1901. People have been buried in this church graveyard for over 100 years, and I saw a headstone dated as recently as 2012. So people are still there, and it's such a gorgeous resting place atop a hill overlooking the bay. Now, along the drive, we saw Dall sheep. Of course, the tourists stop and take pictures. They were climbing the hills. We saw helicopters landing on lakes with pontoons, a train running parallel to the road when the road was straight. Lots of fly fisher people in the rivers we crossed. It was salmon season, and I think there were more people fishing than there were fish. We were driving along the Kenai Wildlife Refuge. That is a vast 1.92 million acres of rugged land, which was established officially in 1981. After a 5-hour road trip of 211 miles, we arrive in Homer, where the road ends literally. To go farther south, you have to take a boat or a plane. We drive a little ways out of town to our retreat house, overlooking the bay. And here is a video I took when we first arrived.
Rain clouds.
Wow, it's almost 80.
I know. I was looking at that.
Just from being in the sun.
Oh, it's the sun contrast. Wow.
With 12 women, we drew straws, literally, to pick our bedrooms or couches or choose spots on the floor. I got lucky with a king bed and a roommate that I knew. Now, before dinner, we do see some wildlife below our deck. And here's a couple of short videos. I kind of think they'd be impaired. Now that was a mama moose with her 2 babies, and that was taken well after midnight. And so we got a quick shot of her and the female moose in the first video. She was out there for quite a while, and we'll get to hear more about moose on one of the later videos. Now, the 2 babies, as I said, so let's let the teleprompter roll, please. Keep going. We also had some cranes in our front yard, but we did not have any bear sightings, but there were plenty of bears around. Now, after some wine on the deck, isn't that a gorgeous shot? We had another delicious meal, and we head to bed. And now remember, we are in Alaska in July, so the sun sets late. This particular night, it was setting at 10:44. But it never really gets especially dark when there's a full moon, and we had a full moon while we were there. And so it's light well after midnight. That's why we got that little video of the mom and her two babies. Now, I knew this, so I prepared by bringing a sleeping mask. And so I put it on and went right to sleep. Now, the next morning, Christy, our guide, who was the organizer of the daily itinerary. Now, each morning she would post the day's events, so we knew what we were going to be doing. Now, she was in charge of keeping us on schedule. Now, getting 12 women dressed, fed, and out the door was a challenge, but somehow we managed to do it. Now, our first day in Homer, our first stop was the Alaska Islands and Ocean Visitor Center. I love museums, so I spent an hour inside and then joined the group on a guided tour. Now, this is the video that has lots of information about moose and some shots of some other wildlife. So let's watch this.
There, and this is willow, so it's Barclay's willow. So it can grow pretty tall, about as tall as that bush there, elderberry. But it's been mowed down by one of our favorite large mammals, the moose. So moose love Barclay's willow, so they'll come out on the trail and chow it down pretty low. They'll eat the green in the summer and even eat the bark in the winter. But a little bit about moose. So they're the largest of the deer family. So they can get pretty huge, and the Alaska moose is actually larger normally than the moose in the lower 48, just because they have ample resources and space and whatnot. So they can get pretty huge, about 7 feet at shoulder, and they grow those, males grow those large antlers. They're also called paddles in early spring, and they actually grow with velvet on them, and then they rub those off to make them shiny before they then start using them to battle other males for territory and mating. So only males get those, and then they shed the antlers or paddles when winter begins, just because they're so heavy. They don't want to carry them around all winter because it takes a lot of energy to do that, and they have to conserve energy through the winter. So the main reason moose would be aggressive, so moose can be aggressive, and they are dangerous animals because they're so huge. They have very sharp hooves to protect themselves against wolves and bears and whatnot. So like I said, they are territorial. So they will be aggressive if you're in their territory. So a lot of times if you see a moose and you just step away, you'll be fine. They also, females, mothers, are very aggressive if they think you're intruding on their babies or going to be aggressive to their babies. So oftentimes mothers are very aggressive. But normally if you see a moose, every moose is kind of different. So I've been 10 feet away from a moose and two babies, and she's laid down and started nursing right in front of me and a couple other people. But there's other moose that if you saw from 50 yards away, they would be pretty agitated by you being there. So you just got to remember they're wild animals and to treat them like that. But if they do look at you and they see you and their ears are up and they go back to what they're doing, you're probably fine. But if they do put their ears back, that means that they're agitated by you being there, and they could charge you. So normally you want to step away. And since they are such large animals, Best thing to do, I would think, is if a moose came after you or you thought they were going to be aggressive, is just to get in some trees where it'd be hard for them to maneuver. And but if you get away from them, they normally are fine. And like I said, if you treat them like wild animals and respect their space, they're going to not cause you any problem or anything like that. But you can see moose everywhere here in Homer. Sometimes they'll be out by the visitor center or the library or whatnot. So they draw large crowds often.
They also have poor eyesight. So if you can get behind a tree in some large bushes, they're going to lose track of you and they forget. I'm used to living in elk country. They don't forget. So, yeah, I was chased my first month here, and it was not fun, but fortunately I was near some trees. I just never saw her in the bushes with the babies. So, yeah, it's kind of a real good education about that. Thanks.
What's the
Now that is probably more information than you ever wanted to know about moose, but now you have it. Now we started to walk out on a plank into the wildlife area there to get a better view of the animals we might see. Now here are some that we saw plenty of eagles on this trip, but only one nesting eagle. There was a adult eagle. I know that this picture is not really crisp and clear. There were two of us taking pictures, and these close-ups, I know they're difficult to see, but that was the only nesting eagle that we saw. Now we saw some more cranes out, and and I think then you can keep the teleprompter rolling. And this is quite a bit of wildlife that was out there. Now the next stop is the Spit. Now you might ask what the Spit is, but it's a little strip of land that goes out into the bay. It's 7.5 miles long, and it is the longest road into the ocean in the world. Now, I don't necessarily believe that, but it certainly does sound good. Now, there were lots of tourist shops, which I managed to avoid. I really didn't buy too much on this trip. The most famous joint on the strip is the Salty Dog, always packed with tourists, fisher people, and locals. And we managed to get in there and have a couple of beers. Now, the Homer Boat Harbor, with 1,500 commercial fishing boats, unloads fish all day long. And when the boat comes in with a catch, it is displayed for all to see and for the fisher people to take pictures of their catch. And on these next couple of videos, you can see how heavy these fish are as they are brought up and then filleted.
it. I have faith. We have so much room for hoodies in the shack right now.
Really?
Yeah. We're like sold out of.
That's tomorrow morning.
Yep. Do that. I know.
That made me hungry just looking at all those delicious fillets, especially the salmon. Now, day 3, we get to finally go out and kayak. I know what the show is supposed to be about, kayaking. So here we go. Now, Sierra Club hired an outrigger to be our guide for 5 days. That we were hiking and kayaking. We were lucky to be in the hands of True North Adventures. The owner, Allison, and her faithful companion, Nico, he was with us everywhere, was with us for the next 5 days. Now, she built this company from scratch. She started guiding at 19 with a friend and just 2 kayaks. And now she must have 30 or 40 kayaks. Now, here's the crew on the taxi boat, 2 people on the boat, and then we have 2 guides that come along with Allison and help us novices get in and out of our kayaks. Now, we board the water taxi that takes us to our kayak put-in destination. We find a seat inside or out and settle in for a 10-minute ride across the bay. We see otters. You're going to see plenty of otters later. But we see otters, but they're moving way too fast, or we're moving way too fast to get a picture. But we spend quite a bit of time on this little boat over the next few days. Now, many of us were new to kayaking, so we have an equipment and safety training. Now, before you watch this video, I had my GoPro camera on my head, and I was turning my head and scanning the water and focusing on particular objects. Now, this can either sit on the top of your head or it can sit on your chest. And I had a learning curve with this, so you're going to be hearing noise when I'm trying to adjust the angle, and you'll hear my voice will be quite loud, and also the voice of my partner. These were 2-person kayaks. Keep rolling that teleprompter there, and so the first video that you're going to see is of Allison giving us a short training on how to kayak, how to get in our boat, out of our boat, if we flip over. And some of us were, knew what we were doing, and others didn't, had never kayaked before. So as I said, you'll be hearing my voice and my partner's voice behind me. Now, when Allison turns away from me, it may be difficult to hear her voice. Depends on where she is in relationship to me. So enjoy watching these 3 videos about kayaking.
So I'm gonna just go over a few safety things, and then we're gonna just start exploring this area of Kachemak Bay, and then your next 2 trips are gonna be going south from the spit. So you will have done the whole kind of north end of Kachemak Bay, and then you're gonna do 2 days heading south. So as you all know, I'm Allison. When you get in, you want to keep a really low center of gravity. So here's how I get in. So I position the boat where I want it, and then I put the paddle right here, ready to go. And you want to avoid standing up in the boat when it's in the water, because what do you think is going to happen if I do that? Yeah, I'm going to be sitting in the water next to the boat, which isn't the idea. So here's what I do. I just aim my butt right towards the seat. Boom. Have a seat. And then from here, push back on that seat back, shake your booty,
shake your other booty, and then aim for your foot pegs if you're in the back and slide in the seat. And then your toes should catch on those foot pegs. Before you put your skirt on, make sure your feet are on the pegs. So to put the skirt on, you start with the back first. So kind of come around the corners, leave this strap on top and this tab out. These are your quick releases to getting out of here for lunch. So don't forget those.
Don't forget how to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll come feed you. If you can't get out, I'll come spoon feed you
Yeah.
your lunch.
Could be worse. Could be worse. So once you're all kind of tucked in, then we'll give you a push offshore. But before you get too far away, if you're in the back, you want to put your rudder in the water. So you reach behind you with your left hand. 2 lines here. So it's basically, it's a 50-50 chance that one's going to jump. So try one. If that's not it, try the other one. And then just flip it into the water. Do you see this cleat here? Yeah. Sometimes the line will slip into that cleat. That thing's put there, it's like purely to annoy you. Then it won't work, so just pull it up.
So don't keep the rudder down.
No, because then it won't pop up when you need it. So here's the deal with the steering. Push on your right foot to go right, left foot to go left.
Oh my God.
It's so high tech.
So,
If you're going in a straight line, you're just kind of pushing a teeny bit at a time. See that? The one thing that can give you issues is if you floor it and then you overcompensate and then you're side swiping everybody in your path, which is again more of a teenage boy thing. So you shouldn't have many problems with that, but just keep an eye on that. If you're going in a straight line, it's just little centimeters, not feet, that you're pushing. So landing, you pull that rudder up, and then you come gently on the shoulder, probably sideways. And then to get out of this contraption, you pop the skirt off, and then put your paddle case in front of you, or hand it to your friend or whatever else. And then to get out of here without getting wet, here's what you do. So you pop up, so see how I'm halfway in, halfway out? Get a foot out. And then get another one. And then slowly come up. And if you're in doubt about landing, wait for Aria to give you a hand. And we're more than happy to help. And paddling technique. So you hold the paddle with the scoop face facing you. Short angle of the end of the blade goes into the water first. So it looks like that. These are drip rings, and these stop the drips from creating like a tide pool in your spray skirt. Theoretically. So if you are getting that little tide pool in your skirt, you may want to adjust it. I like them about right here. Hands should be a little wider than shoulder width apart. If you line your knuckles up with the top of the blade will go squarely into the water. So we're not going to be, by any stretch of the imagination, power paddling out there. It's going to be like clunking. That's my official term.
totally intense.
For what we're going to be doing is clunking around.
Relaxed touch.
Yeah, and the tide's going to be going with us all day, pulling us to our destination. But just so you know, if you need a little bit of extra oomph for whatever reason, you can think of this as a box that you're kind of rotating from side to side. So do you see the difference here? What am I using here that I'm not using?
Your whole body.
Yeah. Yeah, what?
Your obliques,
Yeah, like my core. So I'm using my core, my large torso muscles, and not just isolating arm muscles and kind of, yeah. But if you're plunking, you can kind of do this. But like, you know, we might, when we're crossing over here, we might kind of just use our core a little bit more to get across this way, but we won't like be pooping ourselves out. And if we see sea otters, so we really like to practice good wildlife etiquette out there. So like if we're plunking along, and then say that Christina and Jennifer are a couple sea otters, so they pop up. So you immediately, so you immediately want to kind of put on the brakes. So if you've got forward momentum, the way to slow down is kind of dip your paddle in on either side, and then we'll just kind of wait. And the best thing to do is avert the bow of your boat away from you. And then we'll give them a minute or two to figure out where they're at with our presence. And then what works really well, a lot of times they'll get curious and swim around the boat, which is really cool. You have to stay still, though, to have them get to that comfort level. So that means just sitting and watching and being patient. Being quiet. It's really cool when it works. If they're just kind of hanging out and laying there, you know, with their feet in the air, we'll kind of go in single file, but always averting the bows of our boats. And you can just kind of follow Ari and my lead to know how close is okay. Because if you get closer than us, then you're going to get into what's not going to be a comfortable level of proximity for the sea otters. And then they'll dive, and then we don't get to see them, and then they have to go through this whole like fluffing their fur primping thing all over again, which takes forever.
Yo, Dooter! Okay, let me get back here. I'm starting 9 minutes.
Oh, I have to put the rudder down.
Yeah. 8 minutes. Hi, you guys. Hi.
We're out here kayaking and catching our fish. I'm having a little trouble with my rudder.
We're going in circles. Let me
Get the rudder down.
Let's get this puppy around. I feel some action back there.
Yeah, let's turn it in. Is that our leaders right up front or no?
No, that's one leader. She can help you. That's Ariana.
Okay.
You want me to go over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ariana! I'm having trouble putting my rudder down. It is all the way down. It is? It is. Oh, I guess I was successful then. Let's try it.
Okay.
Well,
Some
so
paddle action.
I was more successful than I thought I was.
Okay. Where at?
Just near me.
Near you. Okay. Whoa.
Hang out for just a second. Otherwise we're gonna lose our fearless leader.
She way up there? Oh, she's not on yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's not on yet.
All right. Okay.
You can't get rid of her that easy. Oh. Did everyone figure out their rudders? They got them down?
Well, apparently I
Yeah.
did.
Without even knowing it.
Yes.
Smile, kid.
Hi.
Regina and her third eye.
So yeah, this is for everyone. This is Peterson Bay. This is a really big oyster farming bay. So we'll start to see a little bit of some buoys off in the distance, in towards a little further towards the head of the bay, and those are all oyster farms. So they have these cool little knit cages that they grow the oysters in, and they have to import them because the water is too cold here for any of the oysters to reproduce. The water rarely exceeds 50 degrees.
Wow.
So you can tell. You dip your hand in and hold it there for about 30 seconds. It's not very warm. But they love hanging in the cages, and they filter feed, and they have such a clear taste. Like they don't get any of the gritty taste. They usually you would find them like in the mud or towards more so like the bottom of the ocean. Whereas when they farm them, they're just hanging in cages, and they filter feed up in the clear water. It's a little bit more enjoyable to eat them when that's what they're eating.
Cute.
But it's so picturesque.
Oh, you still have to make reservations. Dang
Is
it.
it expensive?
Should have planned that.
But here's the little restaurant. So it was an old houseboat. They drug this, see with the rounded roof. That's the little restaurant. And then there's a big Japanese style pavilion that has a fire pit it's really cute. It's cute. So they brought that houseboat over on a very, very high cliff, and then winched it up.
Oh.
And that was in like 1980. So it's quite a while.
Oh, lots of folks out there.
They're watching us. And we're watching them. Taking our picture. You're part of the scenic tour.
Well, I hope you enjoyed those videos. I know I did because I was there. Well, that's all the time we have for Getaway Girl in part 1 of kayaking and hiking at the Kachemak Bay. I hope you're able to watch part 2. It includes the marimba band, otters, lots of otters, a glacier, and more. Hopefully you'll learn more about why traveling takes you outside of yourself and into other places that can open you to new people, new experiences, and new inspiration. I want to thank my outstanding crew, especially my director, Wanda Borland, John Letts, who did the graphics, was a challenge, David Nenow on teleprompter, Dorothy Nenow, audio, Joe Curl on camera, Lynn Likens lighting, and balance on camera. I also want to thank Rogue Valley Community TV and SOU for providing the Digital Media Center for the recording and live broadcasting of public access shows created by members of our community for members of our community. To access archive public access programming, click on the link at the top of the page. Just type in Getaway Girl and watch all episodes. I also am a producer of another Rogue Valley TV show, Girl Talk. Along with my co-host, Carol Voisin, we interview and showcase women of the Rogue Valley who are making a difference in our communities. Check it out on channel 115 for Ashland HomeNet and 182 for Charter on Thursdays at 6:30 or Saturdays at 3, or live stream on archive.org at any time. That's all for Getaway Girl. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Getaway, getaway, getaway now. Getaway, getaway, getaway now. Take a plane, take a train, take a car, just getaway, getaway, getaway now. No need to be far, just getaway, getaway, getaway now. The world is small, many ports to call.